And welcome everyone to an NABC chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Providence head coach Ed Cooley. And Ed, I want to get your reflections on an iconic figure, not just in college basketball and basketball, really in American sports, a trailblazer in John Thompson Jr., who sadly passed away within the past week. What kind of impact did he have on your life?
Well, as an African-American coach, growing up in the early 80s, I was a big Georgetown fan, and I was a big Georgetown fan because of John Thompson. And earlier on, I knew he was a Providence College graduate. I'm born and raised in the city of Providence. I remember, when I was a senior at Central High School, when Georgetown was about to play Providence, he practiced in our high school gym. And I was fortunate to watch his practice. I remember him yelling at Dalton, and I think it's Jaren Jackson, I think the guy's name was. And I just was always impressed on the respect that he would get. What I loved most about Coach Thompson was his love of people. And he always would take time to say hello to me when I was assistant at Boston College. And then when I went to Fairfield, we played at Georgetown as a head coach, and he would put his arm around me. He told me how he was proud, and we became very, very close. I'm very sad. I'm very sad for his family, for his grandchildren, for all the coaches that he touched. He revolutionized the game. He was ahead of the time when he walked out on Prop 48, when it was an unjust system where many of our inner city kids just didn't have the level of support educationally to get to that number to be qualified. If there ever was a statue of somebody of change, it's that of John Thompson.
How much are we missing that kind of voice and that leadership now?
In the African-American community, a major voice. He, along with Nolan Richardson, John Chaney, when we had the Black Coach Association, when we were coming up and coaching, you never missed those meetings. First of all, it was an education in how to curse. But it was how they spoke, the way they spoke, and the way they can move a room to inspire you. Like who of us that are African-American coaches can inspire that next generation of coaches? I'm trying. He just had a way of moving you to attempt to do something that you didn't think you can do. He instilled so much confidence in you and so much belief in you that you actually you're trying to go out there and accomplish it.
So I'm just curious. I mean, obviously at Providence, the Gavitt name is synonymous with Providence. Dave Gavitt statues in front of the building. But what kind of sort of meaning does the John Thompson name have at Providence?
Well, I don't know if it has the meaning it has that it would have at Georgetown. Coach loved Georgetown, but he had a place in his heart that he would talk to me about for Providence College, in particular, Father Morris, who was a priest here, who really looked after Coach Thompson when he was here, that Coach would talk about. And they had such a unique relationship. To say he has a legendary landmark at Providence College, I don't feel that. But when you walk on Georgetown's campus, as you know, my daughter is a sophomore there now, you can feel that big hug that he normally gives you around you when you're up on the hill. And he had such a presence there. It's not about Providence College. It's just all about John Thompson and his impact on the game, not even so much Georgetown, but on the game of basketball and the human rights for young Black men and women.
The one last thing, Ed, that I'm curious your opinion on this, that to me, there are three sort of moments that stick out for me. Are one, the way he reacted to Fred Brown when he made that errant pass and he went right to him.
Right.
Made sure this was not about him. Two, I don't know if it's a moment, but just pictures or things I've seen, or the way he handled Allen Iverson in almost rescuing him. And Iverson talked about that at his Hall of Fame induction. And then three, how he protected and defended one of the greatest players in our game in Patrick Ewing when he was the subject of racism, when he was coming out of Cambridge Ridge and Latin to Georgetown. And, those three, to me, what really stands out, the way he handled each one of those situations to help those, at the time, young men molding into obviously, great men and players. What are your thoughts on either those or other things that you saw in the way in which he handled things?
The one thing I love about Coach Thompson, and I'll never forget, is how he challenged the status quo. He did not give in. You were going to do it his way that he felt was correct for his players. He made it about his players. And most of the time as a kid, you would hear like he was a bigot. He was this, he was that. No, he was protecting what he thought was right. Some 30 years later, what we're going through right now, I think he was correct. I think he was more than right. He stood up when no one else would stand up for us kids. He went in and grabbed us out of single parent homes. Nobody would go into those hoods and get us to bring us to a different side to see that we can be athletically gifted as well as academically gifted. I think he has coached 4 Hall of Famers, 4. I think Kansas may have 5. And that's all the coaches that were at Kansas. I think North Carolina has 5. That's all the coaches. Coach Thompson had 4 alone. He is in a single category by himself. What stands out to me was Coach did what was necessary to give his players an opportunity of success. And if I, as a coach at Providence College, can do a 10th of what he did, I would feel myself accomplished.
Appreciate it, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you.